What would you do if compromise was easier than conviction? Welcome to Quote in Scripture, Scripture that inspires, quotes that uplift. Today, we reflect on a powerful moment of quiet courage. Daniel refuses the king's food. Jerusalem had fallen. Young men of noble birth were taken captive to Babylon, removed from their homes, their families, and everything familiar. Among them was Daniel. In a foreign land filled with foreign gods, customs, and power structures, Daniel's identity was under pressure. The Babylonian king ordered that these young captives be trained in the language and literature of Babylon. They were to be educated, groomed, and assimilated into the empire. Even their names were changed, a subtle but deliberate attempt to reshape their identity. And then came the daily test. They were assigned food and wine from the king's table, rich, luxurious, and culturally significant. To most, it would have looked like privilege, favor, opportunity, but Daniel saw something deeper. The food likely violated the dietary laws given to Israel. It may have been offered to idols before being served. Accepting it without question would have meant silent compromise, blending in, adjusting values, softening convictions. Daniel made a decision in his heart. Scripture tells us in Book of Daniel 1 that Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. Notice the wording, he resolved. This was not a last-minute emotional reaction. It was a settled conviction. He respectfully approached the chief official and requested permission not to eat the king's food. There was no rebellion, no arrogance, no dramatic protest, just firm, humble faith. The official hesitated. Refusing the king's provision could be dangerous. If Daniel and his friends appeared weak or unhealthy, it would cost the official his position, perhaps even his life. So Daniel proposed a test for 10 days. Allow them to eat only vegetables and drink water. After that, compare their appearance with the others. 10 days, it seemed small, almost insignificant. But small acts of faithfulness often lead to greater influence. After 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier and stronger than those who ate the royal food. God honored their obedience. Their physical condition reflected an inner strength rooted in conviction. But the blessing did not stop there. God gave them knowledge and understanding in all kinds of literature and learning. Daniel, in particular, was given insight into visions and dreams. What began as dietary obedience positioned Daniel for spiritual authority in a foreign empire. Daniel did not change the culture overnight. He did not overthrow Babylon. He simply refused to compromise where it mattered, and God elevated him. This story reminds us that faithfulness often begins in private decisions long before public influence appears. Daniel's stand at the table prepared him for the lion's den later in life. Conviction developed early becomes courage under pressure. Daniel was young, far from home, surrounded by pressure to conform, yet he understood something powerful. Identity is not defined by environment. Babylon changed his name, but it could not change his heart. There is something deeply relevant about this story. We live in a world that often celebrates assimilation. Blend in, adjust your values, compromise quietly. No one will notice, but God notices. Daniel's refusal was not about food alone. It was about allegiance. Who would define him? The king of Babylon or the God of Israel? The test of character often comes disguised as convenience. The king's table offered comfort, security, and advancement. Refusal risked isolation and danger. Yet Daniel understood that short-term comfort is never worth long-term compromise. Notice also how Daniel handled the situation. He did not attack. He did not insult the culture around him. He requested permission. He acted with wisdom. Conviction does not require hostility. Strength can be quiet. Daniel teaches us that it is possible to live faithfully within a secular system without becoming shaped by it. He learned the language of Babylon, but did not surrender his loyalty. He excelled in knowledge, yet remained anchored in faith. God honored his obedience with favor and influence. At the end of their training, Daniel and his friends stood before the king. In every matter of wisdom and understanding, they were found 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in the kingdom. 10 times better. Obedience may look small in the beginning, but its fruit multiplies. This story challenges us to ask, where are we tempted to compromise? Is it in our integrity, our speech, our private choices, our loyalty to truth? Daniel's decision was made in his heart. That is where conviction is born, long before it is tested. When pressure increases, we do not rise to the level of our emotions. We fall to the level of our convictions. Daniel's quiet resolve shaped his entire life. And notice something else. Daniel did not stand alone. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah stood with him. Community strengthens conviction. Faith shared becomes faith reinforced. God is able to sustain those who honor him. Daniel's story is not about legalism. It is about loyalty. It is about drawing a line when no one else does. It is about remembering who you are when everything around you tries to redefine you. Perhaps you feel like you are in Babylon, surrounded by values that conflict with your faith. Remember, Daniel, you can excel without compromise. You can influence without surrendering integrity. Small obedience today prepares you for greater tests tomorrow. The king's table looked appealing, but Daniel chose something better, a clear conscience and unwavering allegiance to God. And God gave him influence that outlasted kings. Thank you for watching Quote and Scripture. Scripture that inspires, quotes that uplift. If this message encouraged you to stand firm in your convictions, like this video, share it with someone who needs courage today. And subscribe for more weekly scripture reflections that strengthen your faith and inspire your walk with God.